This week on A to Z Running, one of the most valuable things we can do for ourselves as runners is define a clear vision for why we run and what we are hoping to achieve by this crazy endeavor. For many, that's a very arbitrary and unclear idea at best. So on our quest to share the 9 rules for realizing your dreams, we are next tackling vision.
Welcome back to A to Z Running, where we help runners thrive with information, inspiration, and coaching and training services. I'm Andy.
And I'm Zach, and remember that you can learn more about everything we do at AtoZrunning.com, including our coaching and training services, and follow us on YouTube and Spotify, or we occasionally share things on Instagram. Do we still do that?
Rarely.
Occasionally. And weeks before the World Championships, and everything just changed. At least for the women's 800 meters. More on that soon. Also, remember to stick around at the end for our AI trivia segment, where we try to answer trivia questions that the AI asks us. They are often difficult, and so we get many of them wrong, but that's part of why it's a challenge.
And we learn things along the way, which is the goal.
It is loads of fun. You got to play along to see if you can best us in the AI trivia. And by the way, this may be the day when Zach ekes out a victory in our first round.
Or Andy stumps Zach in his victory.
Makes the comeback steal. We are both within enough points that either of us could win today.
Unlikely for me, very possible for Zach. But last week I thought he would win, but he got 0 correct. So
last week we were backpacking in the mountains, so no one was answering trivia questions.
The week before that.
But it may happen that way again. However, you also need to remember that there's a penalty for the loser.
I have to buy him something that's running related that I'll surprise him with on air. So that will be particularly interesting. I better get thinking. Actually, if you have some ideas, that would be awesome.
Don't comment them, because then Zach will.
No. I mean, they can message on Instagram, because I'm the one who checks that.
Oh. Well, I'll just have to check that also. So to sneak it into the ideas. Okay, so we will be addressing that at the end of the segment. And before we get to any of this stuff, now is probably a good time to say, where in the world has A to Z Running been?
Where have you been?
We've been off the grid of technologies.
Wi-Fi and cellular.
For a large section of it. Andy sat on a back of a horse for some strange reason for a long time. And we put heavy things on our backs and then walked around in mountains for a long time for some strange reason.
You'll understand that better by using correct terms.
And we rode trams and trolleys up and down mountains to see even better views. And we just did all the things that mountains have to offer. And it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Except for running. We didn't do a lot of that.
Nope.
It's very difficult to do that under those circumstances.
Yeah.
We did some. Some. And it was pretty awesome, too.
It was.
Running on dirt roads in the mountains. We tried to run up one mountain. It didn't work very well.
It's just interesting, and I'm sure there's science behind this. It'd be fun to look into it. But as we were exploring and unpacking in the figurative and literal sense after the trip, the kids and how hard it was for them to do the backpacking, I'm very proud of them, because they're young and they did this really difficult backpacking experience. And I have done this as a child. I did it, and as a teen. And they are core memories for me. And I'm wondering if that challenge and reward combo that we do for running as well, and some of these more adventurous type of trips, if that helps us develop these more core memories, like the extremes of that is, I mean, in some ways it can be negative, but in other ways it can be positive. And in this situation is positive. I pushed myself and I overcame, and then there's this reward at the end, which I think is satiated by running as well.
Yeah, maybe.
So I hope that they remember it forever, because I'm very proud of them, and it was a really cool experience, and we had some extremely gorgeous rewards for our hard work.
And the other things that we've been up to lately include lots of other just random traveling about, doing all sorts of atypical things. Our summer routine is never quite
Not a
as
routine
as our
never a routine
as the rest of the year. Yeah, I have been though, and I have found this to be quite interesting. For work, I've had to travel around quite a bit more than normal in the last several weeks also. And one of the things I've been doing is just going to Strava's global heat map and looking at my driving route that I'm going to be traveling back from whatever school I'm working in random places, and seeing what areas light up the most on the heat map, and then finding out why and running there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I've done a few runs in places that I have never been before, even though I've driven past them many times. It's kind of like those small, out of the way, like there's an exit on the highway, but no one stops there because there's not much there to stop unless you are going there on purpose. And yet they have like these awesome running routes. It's really interesting. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Strava's global heat map.
Which is funny because you give some pushback to
It's
Strava.
awful. Strava's a terrible thing for the world.
No, it's not. There are, as with most things, there are the good things and the bad things.
Which one's heavier, though? That's what I want to know. All right, so
debatable.
We have been up to a lot of things, but now we're kind of settling back into the rhythm and routine, and that means Zach's gearing up for a December marathon at the Marathon Project in Phoenix. And that's going to be very exciting, and we'll just keep you updated along the way. Training has recongealed back into a typical training model for me, and that's going to be fun. We'll share more soon.
And I am training for a half marathon with my friend Janelle and her brother Drew. That will be the Grand Rapids half as a trio team. Duo team is the official term, but we are doing it as a team together. So that is my next thing on the docket, which will require some mindfulness of training in a way that I haven't really before, because pushing requires some extra strength and core stability.
If you're not picking up on it or haven't heard us explain this before, Andy's friend is wheelchair bound. And so Drew and Andy will be pushing Janelle in one of those like high-tech chairs.
And I'd recommend going and following Janelle's race page, because she is an inspiration, doing PT 5 times a week and working really hard. She was my first friend to qualify for the Boston Marathon and has been a teammate of mine and a great friend for many, many years now. And so to be able to do running again together in this new way has been really life-giving for all of us.
Right on. That page, by the way, is called Janelle's Race.
Yes.
You can find that
on Facebook.
Is that what that means? Like, I don't know what you meant by page, but I'm assuming other people do.
I'm glad that you had me clarify that.
Janelle's Race on Facebook. Really exciting stuff. And so that's the kind of stuff that we are up to, and we're going to be sharing more about that. We've got some previewing of the World Championships in track and field, which is coming up now shortly in a couple of weeks, and more to come. But before we get to any of those things, we need to continue to discuss with you the rules for realizing your dreams. If you recall, when we began, we shared that we have 9 rules. And the only reason that there's 9 is because it's a really nice grouping of 3s. 3 groups of 3 is such a fine thing to do. And so
you can tell our personalities with this. Yeah.
We could have more than 9, or we could have fewer than 9, but we don't, because 9 is so nice. And this is why. As we were reflecting on these concepts, these big ideas, it's essentially there's kind of categories of things. If we want to try to be as much as we can be as runners, there's certain things we need to be, certain things we need to get or acquire, and certain things we need to stop. Mm-hmm. And that also happens to be a kind of reflection of what I have been calling the growth formula. In order to grow at all, you need to either acquire something new, that make a change. You either need to improve the things that you currently have, or you need to diminish the negative things, in essence.
And the conversation, many of you will be excited to know, can translate to other areas of your life and passions as well. So if right now you are not in a full phase of wanting to realize your dreams in running. I'm guessing you are if you're listening to this podcast. But if you're not, you're injured or there's other things, you could also translate this to other goals and passions.
In fact, the best ideas are big ideas that go everywhere. So we have been sharing, we're about halfway now into the 9, and we've been sharing them across several podcast episodes. So if you haven't listened to some of those previously, go back and listen to some. We talk about patience and how that's really kind of the foundation of the whole thing, and running in particular, because nothing good happens super quickly. Although maybe some things, but really good things take time. And consistency, because those things won't develop if you're patient, but you're not doing the right things consistently. Then patience is kind of just a waste. And then balance, because momentum cannot be sustained over time without balance. Otherwise, we end up in all sorts of worlds of hurt. And then we are most recently talked about the first thing we need to get is help, because being all of those things above, patient, consistent, balance, that's hard. And positive, supportive community will lighten the load. Mm-hmm. I should have used heavy instead of hard, since I was using a weight analogy with the other.
And even if you feel that you are rather independent and running is something that you keep very personal to yourself usually, and you are self-guided in a lot of ways, I do think that if you would like to challenge yourself in an area of growth, this could be an opportunity for you to get better and see your potentiality if you haven't tapped into the power of help. Also, on another side note of that, is even if you do this thing called running and training alone, the communication aspect can be beneficial. So verbalizing things, and also for relationship, diminishing the opportunity for conflict by being communicative about your running, even if you do that apart from your family or friends. It's just good to be able to communicate, and then also psychologically and vision-wise to be able to articulate what you're hoping to do will benefit you and help you realize your dreams as well.
And all of time and history has demonstrated quite clearly, that's a bold claim, quite clearly that we are better in community. We were made for community, and we thrive better in community. And so when we take the things, our interests, passions, and hopes and dreams, and we put them into a community where those kinds of things can be supported well and appropriately, God made Adam and said, "It is not good for man to be alone." And therefore he made Eve. And now in community, we are better. Okay, so as we go, our next step in the process is to talk about vision. We need to get vision. And you might feel like, why didn't we start with that? Isn't that like the thing they always say? You need to start with the vision in mind. And from our perspective, actually, no, I don't agree with that, because the things that we've already discussed are more important than vision. And you don't have to know exactly what you're trying to do or where you're trying to go to learn patience and consistency, to find balance in your life, in your pursuits, and to invest in community. You may not have a clear sense of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and all of those things are still valuable and necessary.
In itself, it's a prioritization of vision. So those things are also, in a way, part of your vision, but this is narrowing the focus more in this aspect of our conversation.
Yes, the word we might use is explicit. Take the vision and make it explicit. Know exactly what it is you're trying to do. I know you are making a negative connotation to that in your mind.
I feel like you need to,
Your
like
mind
specific.
Is in the gutter.
How about specific?
No. The word actually is explicit.
Okay.
That it means it's very clear and it's very direct.
But not with the capital E on content, not that kind.
No, that's a different. That's just a different definition of the word. Mm-hmm. All right, so what we need to know what success looks like. Before I can be successful, I need to know what it actually means to be successful.
And this could be very personal.
Yeah, absolutely. At least in running, and perhaps in life's most important things, it's not really like some kind of like clear destination that we're after. I'm not trying to do this one thing. It's more like a state of being or a way of living. And because of that, it's even more important to know what it is that I'm actually trying to be. Like, as a runner, what does that look like? Because it's not usually answered in run this time in this race on this day. That's like just a small subset of the reason I'm doing it at all. And you might say that's the thing that's motivating me right now to put the time and effort into it right now. But again, as we've talked with runners, we have found that have you ever had a runner say to you when we've worked with runners, like, all I really want out of this thing for running, the only reason I'm doing it is to qualify for Boston, and that's it? Like, that's never really the core of it. That's more a result of other things. But
I would say that some people would have that, unless they've thought through vision. They might have a more narrow vision to a specific event. And I would like to draw our attention to the fact that oftentimes pursuits can be clouded by one idea of success. And typically in those situations, afterwards, people feel really let down. Like, whatever that thing was that they wanted to achieve was not satisfying, was not fulfilling, and they gave up a lot of good things in their life along the way to achieve that thing. And then in the end, they're like, why does this matter?
Whether we achieve it or not.
Right. Like,
right.
And
like both sides of that. You did the big thing you wanted to do, or you didn't, and yet the result is the same.
Right. And there's that feeling of like, oh, I gave up all this time and energy and it was a waste. I've heard that from actors. I've heard that from writers, musicians, and athletes, because the vision of success was one finite thing instead of a multi-layer, thriving version of success.
So give us an example. Have you experienced it personally? Have you had a time where this was the one thing and then I did it and then I realized that was not all I hoped and dreamed it would be? While you're thinking, my clearest example for me personally is exactly that. As a college runner, my whole orientation around the idea of being a national champion. It was like, if you can win the national championships, then you have arrived. You are it. And so that's kind of what I just decided was like, I just oriented everything around that. And all the time, all the effort, all the training, and all of the not turning in my schoolwork and not devoting much time to my studies because that was more important, right? And then I did. Great. Congratulations. I did it. And immediately, like the moment, I was jogging the cool down after winning the national championships in track and field, and I was running after the race, and right then I knew this means nothing. This means nothing. My last 4 years of my life have been devoted to achieving this thing, and achieving that thing is basically meaningless. And so rather than being in an existential crisis in the moment, I spent that time reflecting on, but why do I really want to do this? Like, what's at the core of this? Because it can't just be that, because that was incredibly unfulfilling. Lots of fun, very exciting, entirely unfulfilling. So that was an eye-opening moment for me. How about you?
Well, I've been a person of reflection for a long time, so I don't have many times I'd say I distinctly did it for one specific thing, but I can say that I wanted to run collegiately, and I was at the time the top recruit for my college, and I thought like getting the scholarship, that I had arrived, but I didn't. I continued to pile on pressure to myself. And instead of it being like, I did it, I achieved this thing, I allowed for my meditation of the negative, meaning my anxiety, to take the joy out of my running because I didn't want to let people down. So I'd say sometimes when you achieve, it comes with an asterisk of pressure that you put on yourself that's unnecessary. I'd say that I had a lot of unnecessary personal pressure that that clouded my joy and more fulfilling view of success.
Okay. So in principle, we want to, in order to be the most engaged with the telos of our work, telos is a kind of Latin word for purpose, we want to know under the surface, why am I really doing this? And that reason needs to be rich enough, like existentially rich enough, to motivate us beyond the failures, to motivate us beyond the successes, which we often say it when we're talking with our athletes. It's good when you achieve a success, it's good to relish in that a bit. Like, enjoy the work you did and the moment where you've achieved the success. Don't just, immediately look to the next thing, and don't immediately, like Zach did, and become morose and think this is worthless. And so instead,
but we all know that it's not.
It's not. No.
So he was kind of
value.
going to the complete negative of like, now that I did this thing, what's there for me?
Yeah, it has value, and so enjoy that. But at the same time, when we are oriented around something more substantial than that moment in time, I think we are better able to enjoy that and better able to stave off the slump that follows successes. You see this across everything in life, but I think that's valuable. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're headed when we start talking about vision. Our definition of the word vision might be establishing and maintaining a clear image of what success looks like, both ultimately and immediately. So success in a state of being kind of sense, ultimately, and success in an immediate sense, like goals, hopes, objectives, things like that. So it is about defining success, but it's also about thinking about big ideas and thinking about immediate decisions and all of that together. Okay, before we talk about what that might look like, let's talk about what vision is not for a moment, or the things.
It's helpful.
Yeah, the things that we tend to do with this concept of vision that are counterproductive. We've discussed many times the power of positive thinking kind of stuff over the years. As a standalone concept, it is highly ineffective, and in fact has been known in many research studies to harm our motivation. And what do I mean by that? I mean this idea of visualizing success and thinking positively by itself, when that's the only thing I do, actually demotivates people more than it motivates them. And here's why. Because thinking positive thoughts and envisioning success without action usually produces stagnation. You don't progress.
Can I say why?
Yes.
It's because of the mismatch between where I want to be
right.
and where I am. And that can cause you to stand still, or it can cause you to try to skip steps, which then leads to going backwards.
Well, if you're even pursuing action at all. But the idea that they have found is that when someone says, for instance, one of the studies that they have conducted with this is around weight loss. And someone says, I am envisioning a better me, and I'm envisioning success in this category. But if they don't take steps to do anything about that, then they see lack of progress, and now they're demotivated. And so the idea of envisioning success does not necessarily produce action by itself. We have to couple that with an actionable process, something that I can then implement to move toward that vision, and then I can see progress. But the positive thinking and the emphasis on, there's a phrase that often is used like manifesting your
dreams.
I don't know, positive manifestation, manifest your destiny, which is, I don't know if that's how they say it, but manifest destiny's on my mind right now, apparently. So if that's what you're trying to do, that doesn't actually do anything for you by itself. You need to be strategic here.
And also, just a side note of that, when we are talking about this, I feel like it's a natural bunny hop of the brain. But if you are only imagining these positive things, it's good to be positive, right? But if you're only imagining best results, especially paired with inaction, when the hurdles arise, which they do, mm-hmm. there will be hurdles, then it comes as a surprise, and then that's also demotivating. So I'm not saying to dwell on all the possible things that could go wrong, but I think having a realistic idea of the challenges that we might face and how we're going to overcome them, that's the positive piece. So I might run into this, and here's how I'm going to positively move forward towards my greater vision.
Yeah, definitely. Side note, we're not necessarily discounting the idea of being positive either.
Exactly.
And I say that because there's abundant research, in particular this 2014 study that we've stumbled across recently, that finds that positive self-talk reduced perceived effort. Mm-hmm. And so, in particular, their conclusion, in quotes, this study is the first to demonstrate that motivational self-talk significantly reduces RPE and enhances endurance performance.
I would argue that it's not thinking about an overarching specific like time goal, but instead the vision that you're creating and the positive self-talk is your state of being and is also transcendent to whatever the number on the clock might be, or the number on the scale, or the promotion that you're dreaming of. Because in a moment that you are struggling, again, that same thing that I said earlier, the discrepancy can become a hindrance. So I also think that when they're talking about that, they're talking about like, I am strong, I am capable, I can do this, like that kind of self-talk, not like I need to run a 250 marathon. I need to run a 250 marathon, you know?
That's not positive self-talk. That's just stating your objective.
But that's what I'm trying to differentiate right now.
Yes, indeed. So here's what we want to do for you. We want to give you a protocol, a practice for helping establish your vision, or consolidating your sense of your vision, whether you already are clear on this. And so this is the way these kinds of things tend to work. This kind of protocol is an adaptation of the Whoop My Life organization process, which was found to have significant positive benefits for individuals pursuing some kind of big life goal. And so we're going to adapt it for runners here. And Andy is going to now be put through this protocol without knowing even what it was. So I have surprised Andy with this one. And so while I'm talking through it and explaining it, Andy's actually going to be doing it with us. So you have a pen, you have this paper, you're going to need to use it. And step one in the process is you want to take a piece of paper and you just want to, this is a brainstorming part. So like the top section of the paper, all you're doing is trying to answer the question, why do I run? Give yourself a timer, set it for like 1 minute. Why do I run? And just write anything that comes to mind, not whole sentences, just words and phrases. You don't have to organize this in any kind of structured sense, just trying to write down anything that like, why do I do this? Why do I run? This is called a brain dump, which is an interesting strategy that we find in terms of educational, because it's very valuable in terms of developing recall and what they call retrieval practice as an approach. So why do I run? I'm listing as many things as I can in about a minute or two. It's good to set a timer because it forces you to keep writing until the time is up. And then once the time is up, you may certainly add more things to it if other things come to mind. You're not restricted to what you've got down in that amount of time. But you're trying to come up with as many things as you can in response to the question, why do I run? How'd you do, Andy? You got a bunch of stuff?
Do you want me to share it right now?
Tell us some of your whys.
I run for community. I have good friend time during my runs, often, at least a couple times a week. I like the feeling of being strong, like having my legs be strong, pushing me forward. It's moving meditation time, a time for prayer or to process things on runs. And it helps me with my focus and my health, so both my mental and my physical health. And I also really like to explore on foot. And
so like interesting places, yeah. Cool.
And I like that time in nature.
Okay.
I feel like I meet with God there.
So as you're doing this, as you go through this step in the process, don't try to filter or judge any of the thoughts that come to mind. Don't try to prioritize things. Just write them all down. And so what ends up happening a lot of the time is people are like, is this really a good reason why I run? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. Just write it. If anything that popped into your head. So was there anything else that popped into your head that you didn't have a chance to write? Okay. No. So if it didn't come to mind right away, then we're not worried about it at the moment. Interesting, Andy. You didn't write a single thing that has to do with performance. I mean, like the idea of feeling strong, you could say, but it is not fundamentally performance. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Does that strike you as odd, or?
At this point in my running career, it's not terribly surprising.
Sure.
Maybe if you would have asked me back in 2019,
who knows?
might have been different.
That's fine. Okay, next step now is you look at the list you have. So look at your list, Andy. You look at the list you have, and you're now trying to identify central themes. And this means that some of the ideas you wrote are going to be more specific, and some of the ideas you're not writing something, you're going to just put boxes. Some of the ideas are going to be more specific, and some of the ideas are going to be bigger picture, like broader concepts. And so what you want to do is find what are the more central themes and put a box around them. And it could end up being all of them individually. Put a box around them separately, certainly. But the things that you would say, like, this thing happens because of this thing, or this thing happens along with this thing. So there's a central theme. Sometimes you have to synthesize a little bit when you do this step. Like sometimes you have to write another word or phrase that kind of summarizes one of those themes.
Do I connect them?
You don't have to. No, you can if you want to draw some arrows, if you want to, certainly. So Andy's putting boxes around community and moving meditation, which connects a lot of them. So community seems to be a kind of standalone, and then all the others seem to connect to the moving meditation thing. Is that pretty accurate?
Accurate.
Okay, so Andy now has two central themes. And so what you want to do here is you want to look at those central themes and determine what's most important to you. And it could be all the themes that are there. So now you have boxes. Now you want to circle those boxes that are most important to you. And
I only have 2 boxes.
Yeah, and you would only end up with a few. Most people only end up with a few. And so if it's all of them, then just individually circle each one, if that's the case for you. And the way we think about this is it's not because some things are important and some things are not important, but it's mostly like this is really at the core of it. This is what I'm trying to get out of this thing. Mm-hmm. And so it could be more, it could be fewer. All right, so now, Andy, your why.
I guess this is probably a separate one. And this goes
health?
To this one. Yep.
Okay.
Focus in health.
Okay.
Physical, more like physical and mental health.
Yeah, okay. Yep. I could see that as a separate one. You could lump them together or make them separate. It's your decision because these are your goals and vision. So Andy now has 3 themes. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take those themes in mind, and underneath that, you're now going to make a list of statements that complete the following sentence. I run because. And it could be a single statement that captures all of them. That's not a bad way to do it. Or it could be like, I run because this, this, and this. And so you can decide how you want to do that. But it's essentially you're writing a single statement. I run because, and taking those themes and putting them into that. This is essentially your purpose statement for your running. If you are following the protocol, this is the time when you're now saying, this is why I run. And you may find that it's not quite there yet. You want to tweak some things, make some adjustments. That's fine. Or you may say, wow, that is definitely it. That's exactly why I run. And so it could be something you spend a little bit more time on as well, because you might say, I want to make sure I capture those big ideas well in this statement. And that's all right too. After you have done that, you're going to make a bulleted list beneath it. So first, Andy, what is your purpose statement?
I run because I connect with God and others in movement, which benefits my body, mind, and soul.
Right on. Because I do connect. I would actually say this should be like a desire statement. So I run because I want to connect. Or something like that. Not because it's an intent. which you could leave it as the way Andy wrote it, and that would be just fine too. So then underneath that now, what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, I'm going to now break this down into the kind of goals and objectives and write those out as I hope to statements. You could also say I want to, or I intend to, or, all that kind of stuff. But you may have now a time, and so I'll look back at Andy's list, because this is what I tend to do with this, is I say, okay, now that I've got my purpose statement, go back to my why do I run stuff, and those subpoints that are listed in different places, this is a chance for me to now explicitly note how those fall under this purpose statement. So make a bulleted list, and your bulleted list starts with I hope to, and you're going to list those things out. So as I'm thinking about Andy's, she might say, you can do yours, you can ignore me, but she might say, because earlier she said she likes to explore on foot and see different places. So she might say, I hope to run in interesting places and new places, or something like that, because that's a part of why she likes to run.
Are these specific?
Yeah, as specific as you want them to be. This is where you might say, I hope to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I hope to do this thing with these people. As specific as you want it to be. It is anything that you have on your mind now that falls underneath this big purpose statement, but might be more specific than the big purpose statement. And as Andy's doing that, she's not going to have enough time. We would take more time on this step, because usually people have more of a list. But just the first few that came to Andy's mind, we're going to have her share them before we move on to the final steps here. Are you ready to share yet? She's just about ready to share.
Yeah.
One other thing that I would say here is I don't frame this as goals necessarily. These aren't the things that people are saying, like, this is definitely something I'm going to do, as much as it's like, these are the hopes and dreams that I have within my running endeavor. So it could be something like, I hope to run the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. That could be something you could put here. Or I hope to run.
Good one. I should have stole that one.
Yeah, I hope to run a personal best marathon.
I'm sure I've said it like 900 times in my life, though.
Right. Okay, so what do you got?
So these are just a couple. Definitely not.
So remind us of your purpose statement first, okay, and then give us your hopes.
I run because I want to connect with God and others in movement, which benefits my body, mind, and soul. I hope to run with friends and family every week. I hope to explore a new place or route at least once a month. I hope to maintain health and strength to help me thrive physically.
Yeah, right on. So I like the specificity of the, like, I hope to run with friends and family every week, because it creates a kind of barometer for, have I done that yet? And I know whether or not I have. And then something like the explore a new place one, that's something that Andy won't always control. And there will be times when she just can't, and other times when she does a lot more of it. Like, for instance, when you're in the mountains and you can run a new place every day. And so some of that becomes like this is important to me, and so I'm going to make sure that I try to find time to do it. But some of them are going to be much more like the running with other people is something I'm going to probably be able to prioritize very easily, whereas the other one, depending on life and circumstances, there's going to be an ebb and a flow.
But if I've written it down now, I might seek that opportunity.
Absolutely. It is stated, and it is in front of me. And then the best part about these I hope statements is you can change them anytime you need to, anytime you want to. I don't really hope to do that anymore. I'm going to cross it out, but there's a new one. I'm going to add it to my list. And this is a living kind of process. The next couple of steps are all living processes.
Mm-hmm. And really, another specific goal would be, I hope to be strong enough to be able to push my friend Janelle so that she can have the rewards of crossing a finish line, which she deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. Okay, so next step, we've got these two steps are kind of together, but the final steps here. First, now, look at your list of I hope statements and that big vision thing and say, okay, this means for today. So you write the statement, this means that today I will... ... And now you're creating a kind of routine statement. And so this would not necessarily be, so Andy's I hope statements, some of them are like periodic, like running in a new place. I'm not going to say that today I will run somewhere new, because you can't do that every single day. But what are the decisions you make right now? And this statement is something you can start every day with. It doesn't have to be the same statement every day. But beginning the thinking with, this means that today I will... And now you're stating your intent for the day. And so far as it result as insofar as it captures your purpose statement noted before. You can have more than one statement here. It doesn't have to be a single thing. Today I will blank, and today I will blank, all of that. And then sometimes it makes more sense to have it be a larger period of time. This week I will blank, or this month I will blank. And so Andy had some periodic goals. She could say, this month I will run in this trail that someone just told me about, except she doesn't like running trails, so that's a bad example. But this month I will run with this friend in this place that's somewhere new, whatever those things may be. Or this fall I will go on a trip with my family somewhere and make sure that I go for runs in the Everglades, or whatever that may be. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to note what it means today to do the things that are going to help me be successful in my bigger hopes and goals. So if one of my bigger hopes and goals is I want to prioritize the meditative time on my run, then my statement here might be, this means that today I will not run with headphones.
Hey, you just read mine.
Oh, no. Did you write that?
Okay.
Okay, give us some of your statements.
All right. Today I will run undistracted so I can meditate. Today I will do my pre-run to stay healthy, to contribute to my physical health.
Yep.
But I actually cross it out and put it always. I will.
Always. Every
today
day.
I will do core to be strong enough to healthily push enough.
There you go. So that now, and what Andy can do is every day she can look at those statements, and sometimes she's adding a new one, sometimes she's changing one. But those statements become kind of the driving force of how am I doing the things today that bring me to my big ideas. Final step is the overcoming obstacles step. This one is awesome. This is so important. Do not skip this step. And you might need another page now. And so, do you want another page, Andy?
I do.
So the overcoming obstacles step is a protocol adapted from Whoop My Life again. And in particular, you see this in a lot of different contexts. But we have found over the course of our human sociological studies that we're really good at coming up with goals and hopes and dreams. And we're really bad at anticipating obstacles and challenges.
Oh, that ties into what we talked about earlier.
Yes. So we actually want to make, this is why I said the word explicit earlier, we want to make the implicit explicit right now. We want to take those assumed possible things that might be there and bring them to the surface. So the overcoming obstacles step now is you make a T-chart. On the left, you're going to have your obstacles, and on the right, you're going to have your strategies and solutions. And what you're going to do is you're going to list, okay, I'm anticipating what obstacles, this is the question, what obstacles or anticipated challenges get in the way of these things, those today statements that you wrote out. So you think specific here. Be specific. Today I said I want to do core, or today I said I want to run without distraction. I'm using Andy's examples. So what things make it harder for you to do those today statements? What things get in the way of those today statements? Write them down on the left side, leave some space between them, and have them kind of listed as separate items. And then on the right side, now what you're going to do is you're going to say, what can I do to anticipate and avoid or circumvent or get around? What can I do to prevent those obstacles before they actually get in the way? What am I doing that makes me successful? Think about time. I run out of time to run after work. That's an obstacle. Many people have that experience. I'm trying to run in the afternoon, and then there's other things going on, and I get home from work, or my family gets home from school, and suddenly I don't have the time that I thought I did. So the strategy here would be, I need to run in the morning on days that I'm unsure, or I need to specifically communicate with all my family members what are the things going on today so that I know exactly who's responsible for what and when, and I can make my plans accordingly. How about this other example? I struggle with motivation for winter running or treadmill running. Raise your hand if you say yay. Strategy, community. So I'm going to get a gym membership and meet with a friend to run at the gym regularly through the winter, even though sometimes we'll run outside, sometimes we'll run on the treadmill, but we're going to still meet at this day and time at this place. How about this other one? New pro tip for the winter running and treadmill experience. Plants. Put plants in your workout room, and then nature scenes on the TV. So you've got your classic like watch a movie while you run type of thing. Don't do that. Put plants in your workout room, like living plants, and then put nature scenes on the TV.
I've been decluttering our workout room for this very reason, to be able to create a space that is more productive for my mind.
Right on.
Because
So,
right now it's a little chaotic.
Andrew Huberman, Stanford researcher, and this other guy that he interviewed, a University of Chicago researcher, were discussing this very topic. And it is true that our attention, our ability to focus is decays rapidly when we are in stale settings, in particular indoors. And so there's something about nature that actually refreshes our attention, our focus.
We just listened to a very fascinating podcast about the neuroscience
That's
of
what
nature.
I'm talking about. Yes.
And it was incredible, y'all. And I think that it's very cool and compelling, and maybe we'll talk about it at greater length at some point. But just being in nature for 20 minutes a day at least can boost your ability to do all your other tasks.
True that.
Couple that with exercise.
But here's
That's
the thing.
amazing.
This is the clincher. So we're talking about indoor running now. They also found that just looking at images of nature on a digital screen also has some of those benefits.
And art, nature.
Artistic, it's great.
Yeah.
Non-geometric.
Painting.
Yep.
My sister-in-law is an incredible artist, full-time artist, Randy Ford paintings. You should look her up. Incredible. But they're nature scenes, and I've always felt like it helps my disposition when I look at her art. And now, after listening to that, there was multiple reasons why her art would do that to a person. So anyway,
so here's your promotion. Here's your promotion. You need
sister-in-law.
to fill your workout room with Randy Ford paintings.
Yes.
Randy with an I, Randi, Ford art. Look her up and then order all of her work. And that will help as their new baby is just about to be born. And so then that's good for their family too. So there you go. Support the local artists, right? All right. So we have now Andy's obstacles and strategies. So we're going to wrap it up by you sharing. Give us one or two. Don't go through all of them.
I have just three, but okay. So obstacles, I have a disposition of hurry and wanting to be productive, which would keep me from some of those meditative goals. And I put as a strategy to make a schedule identifying the priorities, because there will be variety within my schedule. So sometimes I will be with other people, or I might need to listen to music I need to memorize. I do a lot with music. So, but identifying so that I have a healthy balance throughout the week. And then the next one is distraction. So not doing all my pre-run or being distracted looking at my phone. So I want to have a list and just do that list and put down my phone. That's not part of my pre-run. And then, so the list would be written down, not in a phone. And then injury is my obstacle. It's been my largest hurdle for years. And my strategy would be to prioritize the pre-run, mobility, and strength.
There you go. Now you have it. You have been equipped with a process that will make you better. Mm-hmm. And at a minimum will help you establish clarity around your vision and then apply that vision to today. What do I need to do today? And become better at that. And so this was a fairly complicated process, as you know, which is why we have put together for you a step-by-step resource that you can have for free by going to AtoZrunning.com/get-vision. AtoZrunning.com/get-vision to have your own complete access.
Did you say it was free? It's free.
Of course it's free.
Okay, just
Why would
want to
make
verify
somebody
that.
pay for that? All right. So vision is, in summary, the thing that defines why I'm doing what I'm doing with the running. And at the same time, it's an ultimate vision and it's a immediate vision. Mm-hmm. What does this mean for me today? And if I can couple those things together well, then I am certainly well on my way to realizing my dreams. And we've got more for you next time, but that's probably good enough for today. Mm-hmm. So let's get on to talking about the latest from the world of running. Okay, now on to the world of running. Andy had to step out for a bit, but she'll be back in time for AI trivia. Don't worry about that. But for the moment, we want to share a number of things that have been going on in the last couple of weeks. It's very exciting stuff, starting with a quick update from those A to Z runners whom we coach, the crew here, and lots going on there too. In the Detroit Classic 800 meters, CJ won the race. Congrats, CJ. Very impressive stuff. At the Great Lakes Loons Pennant Run 5K, Bill finished second overall. Nicely done. In Trans Rockies, we have a 6-day stage ultra race that Erin has run a couple of times, and she, this time around, finished second in the group contest. So running with a teammate, and she and her teammate were second overall. Very impressive. And at the Taqua Trail Run 25K, Jill ran a personal best and finished first in her age group. Drew ran the Howell Mellon Run 5K. Craig ran Humpy's Marathon in Alaska, getting closer to running a marathon in every state. He's up to 42, I believe, now at the moment. And then Violet and Lorenda both ran the Mitchell's Run 5K. Violet in a personal best time and winning the race overall. Well done, Violet. And Dan and Grace both ran the North Country Trail Half Marathon. And Dan finished first in his age group. So congrats to everyone, and certainly appreciate the effort that the A to Z running crew is putting in to their training, to their work, and excellent stuff all the time. Let's talk about the Diamond League circuit. So in the last few weeks, we had a rush of Diamond League races to get to the League Championship event, which is happening in Zurich. Depending on when you're listening to this, the League Championship may have even already started. And so it depends on the exact moment in time. But we want to preface a couple of things for that. It's a 2-day meet happening on Wednesday and Thursday, August 27 and 28. And depending on what you're paying attention to, there's some really interesting and important things going on there. So we'll get to that as we cover some of the results of recent Diamond League races, starting with Silesia in Poland. And so this event, a couple of weeks ago now, began with the women's 1,500 meters. At that, there's the first outing after the regional championships break. And so it's been a couple of weeks since we've heard from some of these world-class athletes. And we had some interesting decisions. Beatrice Chibet and Faith Kipyegon swapped events for this one, apparently. Chibet is coming down and running the 1,500. Kipyegon going up and running the 3,000, which wasn't even a diamond event for this, but we'll come back to that. So it's a question of how does Chibet fare against the world's best milers? She is the world's best 5,000 meter runner with the world record and a global title to boot. And so an Olympic title at that. Chibet certainly knows what she's doing in the distance races. But the mile is less familiar ground for her. So we've got Gudaf Sige from Ethiopia with her classic game plan, and it was a question of whether Tibet could fare against that plan. What does Sige like to do? She likes to run very fast, right from the gun. And then she actually kind of slows down a bit over the course of the race. First half is almost always faster than the second half, but she does it on purpose. That's the way she likes to race. And it happens to be an effective way to beat most people out there. Did it beat Chibet? Yes, it did, because when Sige ran 57 seconds for her second lap to come through the 800 meters, the halfway mark, in 1:59, which is by itself a world-class 800-meter run, she was way ahead. And she ended up winning the race by 4 seconds. So the announcers were fairly sure for a stretch that Sige was going to break the world record. Unfortunately, she faded a bit, ended up running 350.62, the world record, 348 and change. So a couple of seconds off of it there. But it was a meeting record, and it was Sige's second fastest time, all time as well. Very impressive. Chibet was a solid 4 seconds back for second place, although it was a personal best in 3:54. In the men's 1,500, we've got shockingly poor performance out of Yared Nuguse from the U.S. Championships. And now he only has, as an Olympic medalist, only has one way to even make it to the World Championships, and that is he has to win the Diamond League final, which, as I'm saying this, is 24 hours away. It's happening very soon. But in order to do that, to get to that point, Nuguse had to qualify even. And so he has to score enough points in the Diamond League circuit to even run in the final, and he doesn't have those points. So now he's got to be running some Diamond League 1,500s. So here we go. Silesia is the first on the stop. By the way, Hobbs Kessler of the United States is in the same boat. Olympic 5th place finisher, and yet he also is not even qualified for the World Championships because of that competitive, fiercely competitive U.S. championship mile, which is 1,500, which is very exciting. Impressive field here for Silesia, but Neguse did not disappoint. It was a textbook race, not fast, very tactical. 3:33 for the winning time, but Neguse executed to perfection. Charged to victory in the final straight. Took his, I think, is his first Diamond League title. I can't recall if he's won another one before, but Neguse definitely well on his way to qualifying for the Diamond League Championship with that performance, because you score a lot of points when you win the race. It was over Timothy Chariot, Narve Nordash, Renaud Chariot, certainly some of the world's best milers, and it was a strong performance. Hobbs Kessler didn't have it, even finishing behind USA's Josh Hoey, who's an 800-meter specialist, but bumping up in distance. So Kessler's not looking great for making that World Championships. How about the women's 3,000 meters then? This was not a diamond event for the meet, but yet was highly competitive because Faith Kipyegon announced she was going for the world record. Remember when Beatrice Chebet attempted the world record in the 3,000? She did that some weeks ago, earlier in the summer, and missed it by 4 seconds, because remember how, or maybe it was about 5 seconds actually, remember how insane that world record is. This is the 8:06 3,000 meter world record set in the 90s by who was almost definitely, based on what we know what was going on at the time, almost definitely was someone who was cheating in some capacity, but allegedly, and so the record stands as a monolith beyond like anything anyone's ever done. 5 seconds was the best that Beatrice Chebet could come within this record, and she is one of the best all time ever. And so Faith Kipyegon, the best miler of all time, is going to throw her hat in the ring. How did she fare? It was incredible. She was on pace the entire race until the last 150 meters. Like I'm telling you, the one thing that Faith Kipyegon does best all the time is finish well, and she just didn't have it this time. Having to run so hard for so long certainly took it out of her legs, and she missed the record by 1 second. Not even 1 second. Running 8:07.04. Faith Kipyegon apparently is notorious for near misses, because she's also done the same thing with the 1,000 meter world record, where she's missed it by just a margin and a hair a number of times. But that still was the best, was still good for the world number 2, a new African record over 4 seconds over Beatrice Chebet's record, a new Diamond League record, all the good stuff. So it was still an excellent performance, certainly, by far. She also won the race by almost 30 seconds. That's crazy. That means that in a 7.5 lap race, that means that she was running roughly 4 seconds a lap faster than everyone else in a world-class field. Unbelievable. So there you go. Well done, Kipyegon. We know you can get it. Maybe you'll attempt it another time, but not for a bit yet. Women's 800 was also not a Diamond League event, but it was still highly anticipated because Keely Hodgkinson of Great Britain is finally making her season debut after a long stretch of injury where everyone was not sure if Hodgkinson was going to have it for the season. She finally is coming back, saying her coach saying she's like in great shape. She's ready to go. But the question is that really true? And so how does it go? Well, Hodgkinson ran almost 2 seconds faster than anyone else in the world this year, running a meeting record, running 154.74. That's right. I said 154.74 was incredible performance. She dragged the field to some seriously impressive times, but she won that race by a landslide. Kenya's Lillian Odira ran a personal best as the best of the rest, 2 seconds behind Hodgkinson when she ran 156.52. And then Oratile Noe of Botswana also ran 156 and change with a new Botswanan record. Claudia Hollingsworth of Australia ran a new Australian and Oceania record when she went 156.67. And by the way, only 0.03 of a second before her countrywoman Abby Caldwell, who also bested the previous Oceania and Australia record. So 2 Australians under the record. That's crazy. 6 women ran under 158. 7 of the 12 finishers in personal best times. It was a race of legendary status, as it were. And all it was just Hodgkinson making her season debut. And so things have just changed for the women's 800. I alluded to that at the beginning of the episode here. Everything just changed. But now we got to talk about the next meet in the series here, Lausanne. At Lausanne, we had the 50th anniversary of the meet, which is always exciting, but it was pouring rain like the entire time. And in fact, it was raining so much that the long jump board, the board that you have to step on as you're jumping in long jump, was so flooded that they couldn't, like, they had to take the board out and try to get the water out of there. Actually, it was hilarious because a guy had like an orange cone and another guy was just using his hands to like try to get the water out. But it was so flooded that when the athletes would step on the long jump board, it would like explode in water. It was crazy. It was just pouring rain. So here we go. Let's start with the women's 800, because at Lausanne, just a couple of days, or just a week after, not even, after Silesia, Hodgkinson's back at it again, continuing her comeback tour. And for her second race back, how did she fare? Another meeting record, another better than everyone else has run this year time. She ran 1:55.69. So yeah, it was just about a second slower, but still meeting record, still better than anyone else this year. It's abundantly clear now Hodgkinson is just on her own. Nobody has anything on Hodgkinson unless something goes wrong. Audrey Wero, though, of Switzerland, pleased the home crowd for second place, and there were 7 women under 1:59, so it was another fast race. And in this late season roster, it's just like everything's tumultuous. Everything's volatile because you've got some of the big favorites early in the season who are just not performing well. Prudence Segediso looked dominant early on, but now she's showing signs of weakness. Addie Wiley of the United States, same deal. Actually, I think she's still the Diamond League points leader in the 800 for women, but she's done really poorly in a few races. So we're not quite sure, but at this point, can anyone beat Hodgkinson? I don't think so. We will find out. How about the women's steeplechase? Lacking the big global players this time around, it was a big question mark. But that quickly resolved as Doris Lemgole, the NCAA standout, took the early charge and never relented. She just ran her own race. As a matter of fact, she won the race by seconds abundantly. And Sembo Amayu of Ethiopia, who's number 2 in the Diamond League standings, she finished second. And so she's still scoring well in the standings, but that just shows you how Lemgole, someone who's been scoring really well in the Diamond League, and Lemgole still put the hurt on. It was actually USA's Olivia Marquezich then racing well for third place. Not a fast time, but still a proper or successful execution. At that, this race had 0 personal or season best times, which is kind of rare. And so it just tells you how slow it was relative to what athletes usually are doing. In the men's 800 meters, we've got an upset alert. Here we go. The field was as strong as they come, minus only a few of the global players. And even so, when it came to the final stretch, who had the extra gear? Who had the big move? It was not Marco Arap, who faded to 5th. It was not Mohamed Atoui of Spain, who finished in 3rd. It was not even Emmanuel Wanyanyi, the global hegemon, who finished in 2nd. It was USA's Josh Hoey. Hoey for the Diamond League victory. Now, we got to come back to, we said Naguse earlier has only one path to making the World Championships. Josh Hoey, who is just on this tear all year, and yet didn't even make the USA's team for the World Championships. He ended up finishing 4th, and you have to be top 3. And so Hoey now only has one path to the championships as well. Like Naguse, he has to win the Diamond League final. And this was a good look in that direction. To beat Wanyanyi, Arap, Atoui, and others, to win a Diamond League race. He's for sure going to be in the Diamond League final, but can he win it? Well, maybe. After this, I would say I'm much more confident that he could. And then lastly, at this meet, the men's 5,000 meters, yet another tactical race. That pouring rain just slowed everything down for the whole meet. And in a field like this, it makes it very interesting because it clearly spotlights Grant Fisher's strengths, as the race announcers were inclined to note, immediately starting to comment on how this race is favoring Grant Fisher with how impressive his finishing speed is. At a global level, there are not many that you could say they could beat Grant Fisher in the final lap. Even so, when it came to the last 200 meters, it wasn't Fisher who had the biggest burst of speed. It was Belgium's Isaac Kimeli, kind of out of nowhere. Certainly a surprise victor for the race. Fisher's second place finish still looked great. Hard to believe that he's not going to have a little extra snap at the World Championships, and you're just wondering, are we about to see a gold medal performance out of an American? Don't want to claim your victories or what is it? Claim your chickens before they hatch. We don't want to do that, but it is exciting times. Best of the Kenyans in this one was none other than NCAA champion Ishmael Kipkurui, by the way. Looking strong also. All right, moving on to the final meet in the series of meets we just experienced was Brussels. This is the last installment before the Diamond League Championship in Zurich. And the Brussels meet featured a few confirmations and a few uncertainties. So the women's 1500, USA's Nikki Hiltz won a first ever victory in the Diamond League. Nikki Hiltz is in fact the first U.S. woman to win the women's 1500 since Shelby Houlihan back in like 2018. So very impressive performance, very strong finish to outkick a strong field. As a matter of fact, she had to catch Australia's Lyndon Hall, who started the race with the Pacers when no one else wanted to, and Hall found herself alone for the entire race, and yet looking strong even through the last lap. Clearly she was running at her limits, but still looking strong. It was Hiltz alone who was able to reel in Hall for the victory. So, making up about 3 seconds, by the way, on that final 400 meters. Incredible stuff. Also, Hiltz bested Kenya's Nelly Chepchirchir, who finished in third, who herself has 3 Diamond League victories this season. Chepchirchir, in fact, was undefeated for almost the entire season. And so, very impressive stuff. By the way, Great Britain's Laura Muir looked strong, running 3:57 in her continued return. She's, remember, the veteran global and Olympic medalist, spent the early part of the season injured, and it was kind of a question of whether she would come back, but she is looking like she's coming back. Women's 5,000 was the next race of the meet. In a similar spectator experience to the 1,500, it was a one-woman show. Except this time no one caught her. It was Agnes Ngetic of Kenya, who is entirely comfortable running fast by herself. She's done that quite a bit this season, and she's probably the only person who has consistently run like 14:20 alone over and over and over, and yet that's what she does. Probably she was alone because they started at world record pace, which is 13:58. She, remember, did run 14:01 earlier this season, world number 3 all time. So it's not unsurprising that Ngetic might go after a world record, but it just wasn't that kind of day. She slowed eventually to 14:25, still won the race by 6 seconds. But the next 12 women all ran under 14:40. So 13 women total under 14:40. It was incredible, continuing this crazy streak of insanely deep races. In that crew, by the way, you had Spain's Marta Garcia set a new national record for 14:33, and Belgium's Jana van Lent also a new national record for 14:37. So a couple of national records to boot. And the men's 1,500 meters, we've got now the final chance for Yard Nuguse to secure his path to the Diamond League final. He had to finish in the top 8. And it would have been a good look to see him win another race too, especially because the last one, you could say, didn't have some of the biggest players in the current scene, like Kenya's teenage sensation, Fanwell Koech, who has not run slower than 3:30 this season, like the Netherlands' Niels Laros, who might just be the best kicker on the planet right now. So how does Nuguse fare against these guys? Well, he ran the right kind of race. He stayed out of trouble, good position, everything was stacked up perfectly, but the young guys beat him because they just ran faster in the finish. And so, was it Kenya's teenage sensation Fanwell Koech? No. His kick proved too much for Nuguse, but it was once again Niels Laros who won the Bowerman Mile. Laros showing himself to be a very strong favorite for this World Championship title. He's running fast times, and he's kicking off of anything, every kind of race. And so a 3:30 tactical affair, certainly still a very impressive performance. And Laros, it should be noted, has always been a good kicker, but this is definitely a time when he's now like stepped up the game. And so he has been able to beat anyone and everyone, and he's been able to do it in just some of the most incredible finish speeds that we've seen in a while. So, you know, we talked about in the Olympic year last year that Cole Hocker might be the best kicker in the world at that time. Yeah, I think Niels Laros has got that secured right now. So we'll see. We will see. Let's move on now to the men's steeplechase, last race of the meet to cover. Missing some of the biggest steeple names, top 3 in the Diamond League rankings, for instance, and that kind of leaves the race wide open. But you got to wonder then what's going to happen. And I have to say, one of the most fun races that I've watched this year in terms of the steeplechase, because it was so uncertain, even coming down to the final lap. And who is it that goes to the lead with 400 meters to go to start the kicking? It was USA's Isaac Updike, who did not even qualify for the World Championships to make Team USA, unfortunately. Updike running a massive personal best for 8:10 in this race. Very impressive. But still had to settle for third place because Gednet Wale of Ethiopia finished second because he's always got a strong kick. That's not surprising. The big excitement, though, was Ruben Queringen of Luxembourg, who finished in a new Luxembourgish record, 8:09, to win his first Diamond League race. It might be the first time a Luxembourgan, I don't remember exactly what you're supposed to call someone from Luxembourg, might be the first time that anyone from Luxembourg has won a Diamond League distance race. So very exciting stuff there. And then in USA's Bernard Keeter was also chasing the 8:15 world standard because he's qualified by top 3 in the US, but he doesn't actually have the world standard, but he missed it narrowly, running still a personal best for 8:16. I don't think that actually matters for his chances to run in world champs because the US has so many qualified. And so I think that that's besides the point, but it was still, an attempt to kind of see if he could hit that mark, and he just barely missed it. All right, to wrap things up, we got a couple of newsworthy notes here. First, Cooper Lutkenhouse, remember that name? He's the American teenage 800-meter runner, the 16-year-old who just qualified for the World Championships, finishing second in the U.S. Championships, running a massive new high school record, 142 and change. And remember, that time actually is not just a U.S. high school record. It is a world age 16 and a world under 18 record. It is also the number 2 ever best performance in world under 20 and the number 4 all-time U.S. performance. He just did that. So now the question is, if Nike comes knocking on your door at 16 years of age and says, we want to pay you to run professionally, would you skip out on the rest of your high school and college eligibility to go pro? And the answer that Cooper Lutkenhouse gave was yes. So he is now running professionally for Nike as a junior in high school. He's starting his junior year in high school this year as a professional Nike runner. I've got to wonder what that is like with his friends at school. How cool is he, right? Making, insane amounts of money as a junior in high school is probably not terribly healthy. Hopefully his parents are really keen on how to help support him in this, and his family is on the straight and narrow with this kind of stuff, because a lot of shenanigans happen when, kids start making tons of money, but we'll see. Secondly, in other news, Audrey Wero of Switzerland ran a new Swiss record at the Swiss Championships to run 156.29 for that new national record. I think that marks her definitively now as the second fastest in the world this year, behind Keely Hodgkinson. And so Wero, who is just really having a great season, is putting herself in clear contention as a medalist for world champs. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be exciting. Lastly, Adidas made a new super shoe just to see if they could get someone to run under 6 hours in the 100K, which is 62 miles, right? Under 6 hours, which has never been done. And so what they did is they made this super shoe that is a 60 millimeter stack height. So think of your traditional super shoes right now and add 50% more rubber or foam, I guess. It's huge. The shoe is like a stilt. It's crazy, but it's obviously not a legal shoe, so that it's not going to be a legal record if someone can set it. But they did that. They took 5 guys, put them on a track, I think, actually. I don't know what they meant by track, though. It might not have been a rubber track, but they put them on a course together and ran them in 100K and see who can run under 6 hours. And the answer is yes, somebody did. And it's very impressive stuff. So here's what this means. To run under 6 hours in the 100K, you got to run 2:32 marathon pace twice, plus some, because it's 62 miles, 2 marathons plus 16K. And that's for 2:32 marathons twice. And then that means you have to run 5:48 mile pace, 5:48 per mile for 6 hours straight. Yikes. Well, that's pretty outrageous. But there's a lot more going on. We're going to be talking about the Diamond League Championships next time you hear from us, and then previewing the World Championships, because these are championship seasons and it's really exciting. But before we get to any more of that, we need to bring back our AI trivia segment. Well, to wrap up our World of Running segment, Andy is back with us for our AI trivia, because this is just the best part of our time together here, right?
I think it's pretty fun.
Right? Okay, so we're going to start by reminding our AI of what we're doing, if we can find back.
I have to mention, if this was my vision was to win this and not to learn, I would have complete disappointment, because I've been like failing miserably.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We do have our Wheel of Unfortunate topics, and so we'll spin that here before we get the AI up and running. What topic are we going to ask the AI about? And we spin the wheel, and so we don't know. We've got 6 possible options here, and we'll just add more to them as ideas come to mind. If you have a topic that you'd love for us to ask the AI trivia, let us know, and we'll add it to the wheel of topics. So here we go, spinning the wheel. It could be Diamond League, it could be Australia, it could be cross country. It is World Athletics history.
Oh.
Okay, World Athletics is the governing body for running in the world
I don't know how much
today.
I know about their history.
Yeah, well, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Welcome back, AI person thing, to our trivia segment. Please say hello to the A to Z Running audience.
All right, let's give it another shot. Hopefully everything's coming through loud and clear now. I'm excited to jump into whatever trivia topic you have next.
Great, thank you. All right, so our trivia topic today, remember the rules. We're going to ask you to give us 3 questions with 4 possible correct answers, and we will select the one that we think is correct, and you'll tell us, and we'll do that 1 question at a time for 3 questions. So the first topic here, or the topic for all the questions here, is the history of the World Athletics Organization, the organization that is the governing body for track and field in the world. So if you can, give us the first question, a trivia question about the organization World Athletics and their history.
Absolutely. Let's dive into the history of world athletics. So here's your first question. In what year was the International Association of Athletics Federations, which is now known as World Athletics, originally founded? Here are your options. 1, 1905, 2, 1912, 3, 1921, 4, 1936. Go ahead and take your guess.
So the IAAF, which is now called World Athletics, was founded in one of those years. Do you have a guess, Andy?
Yes.
Okay, guess in 3, 2, 1, guess. Oh, we both guessed 1936. We guessed 1936. What's the correct answer?
Well, good try. The correct answer is actually 1912. So the organization that's now known as World Athletics was founded way back in 1912.
Was it still called IAAF back in 1912?
Yeah, actually it was. So back in 1912, it was founded as the IAAF, and it kept that name for over a century until it rebranded as World Athletics in 2019.
Okay. Oh, fun little bonus question. So we know when World Athletics actually was rebranded. Okay, go ahead and ask us the next question.
Absolutely. Let's keep going. Here's your second question. Who was the first president of the IAAF? Here are your options. 1, Siegfried Edstrom. 2, Primo Nibiolo. 3, Adrian Paulin. 4, Lenin Diak. Take your pick.
We don't have a clue on this one, so we're just going to have to guess randomly, and I'm going to guess. I've got mine?
Yeah, I got mine. Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, no. Did you say 2?
1.
No, you said, okay. We guessed either number 1 or number 2. Which was correct?
Well, you both made solid guesses. The correct answer is number 1, Siegfried Edstrom. He was actually the very first president of the IAAF, so well done if you guessed him.
Okay, Andy's got a point on the board. That's now number 8. She's about to tie with Zach. Okay, we need one more question. Ask us a third question.
All right, let's see if we can settle the score a bit. Here's your final question. Which city hosted the very first World Championships in athletics, organized by the IAAF? Here are your options. 1, Helsinki. 2, Rome. 3, Tokyo. Good luck with your final guess.
Oh, interesting. They only gave us 3 options this time, but that's okay. Okay, Helsinki, Rome, or Tokyo. Do you have a guess?
Yep.
I do too. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, Andy guessed Rome. Zach guessed Helsinki. What was the correct answer?
Well, great guesses from both of you. The correct answer is actually Helsinki. So that means Zach got this one right. The very first World Championships were held in Helsinki back in 19...
I should have, because that was the most
Zach
random
is
one.
the winner.
I feel like I should have.
That's 10. Zach got 10
You
points.
got 10. Okay,
I
so
won the
stay
round.
tuned to what I will be giving
Next week
to Zach.
You have to decide by next week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And next week on air. Well, no, because it won't be.
I feel like there's a lot of
you
pressure.
have to order something so that it will be here by next week.
So, like, today, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yep. All right, here we go. If audience members, if you have a suggestion for Andy, send it on quickly because she needs to know.
Yep.
With that, we should probably say, okay, go ahead, AI, say farewell to our audience.
Absolutely. It's been a blast playing Trivium with all of you. Thanks so much for having me on. And until next time, take care and have fun out there.
All right, and we will. So that's it for today. But
Congratulations.
oh, thank you.
Good game.
A
Good
handshake. A nice handshake. I thought maybe you were just gonna give me a high five, but I got a full handshake.
I'm a good sport.
So we'll be starting the next round, the new round next time. And that will be very interesting. We're going to add to our list of topics, and then we're going to keep the topics wheel going. And if you have suggestions, offer them up.
Yep. So the score ended up being 10-8. Is that great?
8.
Okay.
How close, right?
Yeah.
How close.
Took us a long time to get there, an embarrassingly long time to get there.
Speaking of taking a long time to get there, you have a vision for running, and it is a very important and big thing. And we want to make sure that you have the tools equipped. And so we feel like the protocol we shared today should help you arrive at clarity around your vision. And if you need some more help on that, you can go to AtoZrunning.com/get-vision for more of our materials there.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.